Welcome to the Tech Report podcast, where we help businesses survive, thrive, and create value.
Well, welcome everybody to the Tech Report podcast, the podcast that is all about helping businesses survive, thrive, and create value, especially in our trying environment today. So I'm going to be your host today. My name is Brad Stoller. I'm kind of excited for today's episode because we're going to do something really different here today. So I've got one of our partners here with Transitional Equity Consultants. His name is Joe Rotarius. We just call him JR. So JR and I go back a long ways. Both of us were former PGA professionals. I say former because I am, but actually he still is. He's very active in the PGA. That's not what we're here to talk about today, but just want to give you a little background, with JR. But what we did want to talk about today, just briefly, it's going to be a short one today. It's just something we've been noticing that's happening a lot with a lot of our clients who are, calling us, contacting, reaching out to us, who really are ready to sell their practice. Okay, and unfortunately, there's a lot of we just can't seem to really help because they're not prepared. So that's kind of the topic that we wanted to talk about today, and that is the topic of having an exit strategy. So before we go any farther, JR, welcome to the Tech Report.
Thank you, old buddy.
Well, JR, just real quick, high level, just tell them, you've been involved with Transitional Equity Consultants for quite a while. Just give our listeners just a real quick background of, how on earth you got involved with the mergers and acquisitions industry, and just so they know a little bit about you.
Put a couple of golf course transactions together, and somebody that I knew said, "Hey, why don't you work with us?" Because I didn't have anything to do at the particular time, and so here we are in 2025, 10 years into the business in merger and acquisition for our Transitional Equity Consultants company, and four of us who worked at another place decided to start our own, and here we are.
Yeah, exactly. And again, I think the beauty behind this is JR and I talk all the time. And we just have these, what I could just call them casual conversations, hey, what's going on in the world? And, how's that affecting, our clients? And a lot of the clients we work on, many of our are in the medical profession. And a lot of them, we don't work with the hospitals. Okay. They're not a really good fit for what we do, but we do work for the smaller practices, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 locations. We call them mid-market to small to medium market. But JR, you and I have been talking about this, and we both feel kind of strongly, and that's kind of why we're doing this episode here today. What are some of the problems that you've noticed, especially in the smaller practices? They reach out to us. They say, "All right, we're ready to go. See what you can do for us, right? We're ready to sell. I've had enough. I want to retire." Okay, that's the one we're going to talk about today. So, what are the problems that you've been noticing? And you've been doing this a long time. We didn't tell you how long, you've been in this industry, but it's been quite a few years now, and you've got a lot of transactions under your belt. So, you definitely, I think anybody qualified to talk about this is you. So, what are some of the problems you've noticed that some of these doctors, practice owners come to, and why can't we help them the way we'd like to be able to be?
Well, first off, I learned from some of the doctors in my life as a golf professional that they're not trained to be business people. So by the time it gets ready to sell a practice, they're good healers, they're good at their job, but they haven't set their practice up in such a way that it is attractive to sell. Sometimes they're successful in spite of themselves. That's not everybody's poorly or doesn't do a good job, but they leave a little bit left out that they should be working on. One is making sure that they always have their books in order, and make sure that they know what their EBITDA is, so they know what the profitability is, how they get there. Do they know how to streamline their business? A lot of the doctors have somebody, the doctor's practices will have a practice manager. So
Right.
sometimes the practice manager will try to do some of those things and manage that. However, you still need someone who can really deluge or dive into and really make sure that things are in succinct order so that you can get maximum value when the time comes. If I could interject one thing about that, there's many a times when someone thinks they should give themselves an exit strategy or start thinking about it. We can help them with some suggestions if in case they're not ready or they don't have the right person on their team who is helping them through some of those difficult things in accounting. But the one key is everybody seems to think, and I say everybody because it almost seems like everybody, although it's never everybody. That's a blanket statement, but they think that, well, I'm doing pretty well and I need to do just a little bit better before I decide that I can consummate that exit strategy. Well, topics change, things change in the government. You have different laws that get enacted. You have, cuts in certain areas, and then all of a sudden you work hard for another year, and everything that you grew that practice falls by the wayside because of something that was out of your control.
Yeah, exactly. You said something right at the very first when you said have their books in order. What do you mean by that? Because that's one of the biggest things I've noticed with the people I've worked with. Well, can you give us a few, maybe give us a month to get our numbers read? What do you mean by books in order? What does that mean when they're trying to sell versus just getting ready for their account? Is there a difference?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is they need to be finalized after each month. So you can have a trailing 12 months so you know where you stand, where you're going. Are you trending upward? Are you trending downward? Why are you trending upward? Why are you trending downward? And many times the practices will take 2 or 3 months to finish the end of January. And by then you're already in April. You need to do that every month and be timely. And if
Right.
you are, then you know where you're standing. Because if you're having a bad time on something, you need to know where it is so that you can fix it right away. We had one particular individual who thought they had $1 million in EBITDA or more, actually close to $1.5 million. By the time they started going through the person's records, they went, oh, nowhere near that much. And
Right.
so they weren't there. They're a darn good doctor, a darn good person, and working hard, but tried to do everything themselves. And sometimes, you can get spread too thin and not get everything to the nth degree that someone is going to want if you are trying to find an exit strategy.
Right. And when it comes to the books, it seems like from what I've seen, it raises a really strong red flag to potential buyers, doesn't it? When it takes a long time to get your books ready, that's not a very, very good sign. If I'm a buyer and I've got several practices, or let's say out the country, and I'm looking at yours maybe to add on to our already existing platform, I really don't want to mess around with waiting and waiting and waiting because I've got other opportunities. I might just say, you know what, you guys aren't ready. I'm going to go over here. Right? Does that happen a lot?
That does happen on occasion. And what we try to do with the folks that we work with is let them know right up front, hey, we have timetables. We have to get things done in a timely fashion because grass doesn't grow underneath our feet. Things are not going to be delayed because of what we do. However, when we start working with them, if they can't get us information timely, then the flag goes up and we know exactly what you're talking about, that they may not be 100% ready. So that's when we have to kind of coach them through that. They still may be doing well. It's just that they don't have their books in order. And sometimes it is a matter of first come, first serve.
Yeah, exactly. Another thing that I've noticed that when working with the business owners or practice owners, I guess, they're ready mentally to sell. Their business is not. And what I mean by that is we catch a lot of, if you are the sole um, practice provider, if you will, if you're representing almost 50% of your practice's revenue, GR, what's the problem with that? And what, from a buyer standpoint, what poses
Well,
a problem there?
well, what happens if that person gets hit by a bus? Unforeseen accident. 50% of the revenue is gone. It doesn't mean that your practice isn't viable, but it's not as valuable as if the risk was spread amongst all the doctors as opposed to just one. Is that what you're getting to?
It is. I know. One of my customers came up, and we got a good relationship with them. Probably, I won't mention any names, but probably one of the most well known in his industry. He's top. And but the problem was, it's really his whole organization revolved around him. And he really didn't know, if he's gone, who's going to run it? And that's the problem we were having, trying to find a buyer, because, well, if he wants to retire, there is no business, is there? So part of the getting you ready for that exit strategy is to make sure you've got, if you're gone for a vacation for a month, will your business be able to keep going, or will it fall apart? Right? Is that one of the, I guess I call it the checklist. That's mine. I like to use, but the 1 month checklist. Now, if your business survives while you're gone and on your fishing trip for a month, then you're probably headed in the right direction and getting ready. So a buyer will also look at it like, if this guy's gone or this lady's gone, the business is still viable. And that's a big deal, isn't it, JR?
Yes. Um, if you're well recognized, everybody wants to do business with you.
Right.
And so um, your person is someone that people enjoyed and was very good at. And then we have another practice that some doctors are very prominent and they're very well known and recognized with the things that they do. And they did a significant portion of the business just because of who they are and the reputation they have. So
Right.
yeah, I get what you're saying there. That's very important to be able to spread that out to minimize the risk for the person buying it, so that you can get maximum value.
All right. Now, we did an episode a while back, not just too long ago. Gosh, it's only about a month ago. Dr. Cindy Class, and I will mention her name. Cindy's awesome. Okay. She's one of our clients, but the difference that she did, and you guys can always go back and listen to the episode. I believe it's episode 33, I think is what it is, but either way, you'll find it. She struck me as a really stuck out. She started, when she, years ago, she started with an exit strategy. And if you guys aren't sure what an exit strategy should look like for a medical practice, listen to that episode, for goodness sakes. This is one of our clients, and she's very successful at it. But she began her business with the end in mind. And she always knew she wanted to probably sell at some day. And she actually told me that she sold maybe a little earlier than what she was planning on. So when she was in her 50s, her business was thriving. And many would just keep on going and going and going until, they just, right off in the sunset, right? But that's not what she wanted to do. She had the option, by being prepared, her business could run whether she's there or not. So she had all her systems set up, the books set up, everything we just kind of talked about. And she got top dollar, didn't she, JR? You remember her. Sure.
Yes, she did. And what was really good is her intention was to wait just a little bit, but she was not emotionally tied to the business.
Right.
So when she saw the opportunity that there was one there, she was willing to take down the blinders, speak to us, speak to the other folks that she ultimately had a transaction with, and saw the value now instead of later. Too many times, um, owners, doctors think they need to stick around. Just, I need to do it one more year. I just got to get this one more here. I got to do just a little bit more here. Not necessarily, because there's other ways to structure a transaction. And they did a nice job of structuring her transaction as well. And she's got the win on both sides. And if someone would give us the chance sometimes to explain that, then they begin to see the real picture. Sometimes it's tough to get to people and talk to them because they don't want to be bothered or they think they're too busy. But we have helped a number of doctors, from physical therapy to elevators to surgery centers to podiatrists, who have had some challenges. And one of our partners, Stephanie Butler, can go through with them and kind of give them some ideas as to what
Right.
they need to do, how to do it, and how to structure something so they can get those books and those questions in order quickly and then take advantage of it. Sometimes it can be right away. Sometimes it takes a little while. As you know, Scott, he had somebody that had to wait a year, and when they got him in order, boom, there they go. So it's we offer the whole gamut. This is not a sales call, but a sales pitch, but we do offer for those who are having some struggles, we can help them with that as well.
Yeah. I think that brings us, and again, the whole purpose of today was really to kind of keep this very brief, just isolated, just to get people to think, whether or not you're ready to sell your practice today. We're not talking about partnerships. We're just talking about selling right now. This is the whole episode, just selling. But don't wait until you're ready to sell. It's too late. You got to prep, get ready and then when time does come, you're already there and you're prepared. So JR, we have what we call a discovery call, right? So somebody wants to have a conversation. There's no fee or anything like that. You just reach out to us. We're always happy to begin a relationship today. And maybe we find out that the business is ready. Maybe it's not. But as you said, we'll be able to identify those areas that need to work on. Is that fair, or am I missing something there?
No, not at all. You've touched all the important pieces. Very
So
good.
well, I'll have a link at the bottom of this, so they're welcome to either call you or they can call me if they like. Just give us a call. We'll set up just a brief just discussion, and we all work as a team here. So if you call me and I'm not available, you can work at JR, or Scott's one of our other founding partners as well. I mean, we all tag team together. But it's a great idea, I think, even if you're not ready today, just have a conversation with us. And it just makes sense. So that way you know what you can work on. And so when you are ready, you will be ready and get a much higher value. And you can kind of pick and choose. And that's kind of what we help you with. Is that right? Or what else am I missing, JR?
Well, the points that I would make is that piggyback on what you said. Since we don't charge anything for the calls and what's going on,
Right.
we don't have to be pushy. We're not high pressure. We give you information. You'll learn where you're at, where you need to be, where you can move forward, and that's it. If we can help you, we can. We don't, since we don't charge anything, like I said, it's a pretty simple thing. So we're not going to tell you we can do something and waste our time if we can't help you.
Right.
So pretty simple like that. I mean, so this is not a high pressure call when someone just to call in to ask questions. It should be informative. And the whole idea when we talk to people, when I talk to people, the more information I can share, the better decision and well-informed decision you can make. And so that's the whole idea. That's all you're trying to do something for somebody. When
Right.
when the time's right, it happens. And if it's not, it's not. But at least someone is equipped with enough information to make a good decision as to how they need to proceed.
Yep, exactly. That's perfect. So I think mission accomplished today, JR. I think we just wanted to talk briefly on just some of the problems we're finding with lately. We've had a lot of people reaching out to us, and dang it, we feel kind of bad because they want to sell. Sometimes they even need to sell, and we do everything we can, and it boils down to they're just not quite ready yet. So have that conversation with us, right? It doesn't cost anything. Plan ahead a little bit. When it is time, at least you'll be prepared, and then we can do a much better job to find a much higher value, and then you can move on to the next chapter of your life, and everybody's happy that way, right?
Yes. People don't know what they don't know because they don't know what they don't know.
That's
So when they
I
have
love
a
that thing.
conversation with somebody, it's like, oh yeah, and so it's a good learning experience.
Yep, exactly.
And that's what this is designed for. And why you came up with this idea is to make it a learning experience for somebody, not a high pressure sale.
Yep, exactly. So, well, that's it for today, guys. We're glad you could watch. Well, stay tuned. We're probably going to have a few more of these informational, just real quick podcast episodes, if you will. Watch. We'll have them on our YouTube channel, and we'll make sure you can see it if you want to. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. There's a little link down at the bottom here. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Or if you just want to listen to it in your car, just techreport.com, and you can listen to it as you're driving to and from. But anyways, for Transitional Equity Consults, my name is Brad Stoller. We'll talk to you next time. JR, thanks so much for joining us here today.
You're welcome. Thank you. See you.